for Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first and Homer Bailey for the second time in his major league career has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air and the Reds win. What a dream to get into the career of Jay Bruce.
No free ads, but I had to go with the cola today. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. Had to go with the cola. Got a lot of work stuff that needs to get done today. But you know what? The pitch clock got me, Nick. It got me. I got to be honest. I took my eye off of it. The Reds were up 5-0, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start working on some stuff. I walk out there, and Sean's like, yeah, you think they're going to throw Abbott out there in the ninth? I said, the ninth? Rushing home. But here we are, baby. Are the Reds back? That's the question of the day. Reds win 5-1. Are they back, Nick?
Obviously, they're back. And I don't think they ever left, though. So
I think some said they were leaving. I might have been a part of that small group of people. Not totally, of course. Not totally. But I might have been concerned. Just slightly. I can't wait for you to do this box score recap because this is one of the few times where I might listen intently just to make sure that I know everything that happened. It's nice to see the Reds offense get back on track. Probably we'll get into that. But Andrew Abbott, of course, is probably the main storyline for the day. Would you say that's the main storyline, or are you just happy to see the offense kind of put some good runs up there on the board again, consistently putting some offensive production together when we were a little concerned there for a minute? What's the big? I'm going to put you on that before you do the box score recap. What's the bigger story, Abbott or the offense?
Maybe a little of both. I mean, I would say Abbott.
See, Nick.
You got to let me finish. I would say Abbott would be 1A because anytime a rookie throws a one hitter over 8 innings, I mean, I think that has to be number one. But I think the offense is still a very significant storyline as well. So,
okay. So you said Abbott. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, it was a long-winded way of getting there, as you know I always do.
That's what politicians do, Nick. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
All right, let's do the box score recap. And today, before I forget, we do owe Deep South Commodities a little bit of an apology. Yesterday, we finally had a win coupled with a deep fly, and that came off the bat of Will Benson. So my apologies to them before we get started. But as always, we have another opportunity to rectify our wrongs, and I'm sure we'll do that at the end of the box score recap.
And I even got a graphic for you, so we're ready to roll today.
Let's do it.
All right. Big time starting pitching matchup on Thursday afternoon. Andrew Abbott versus all-star pitcher Alex Cobb, who came in really absolutely rolling into this start, really dominant of late. We were scoreless heading into the bottom of the third. Will Benson would have his fingerprints all over this game, and he started off the third with a walk. Then Luke Maile, who entered the game hitless in the month of July, hit a 423-foot home run. That made it 2-0 Reds. The Giants' best chance of the day against Abbott came in the fourth inning with 2 outs and a runner on first base. Luis Matos ripped a ball off the left field wall. Benson made a great stop relay to Elly De La Cruz. Elly then threw a bullet home, just a bit offline, but Luke Maile had a great scoop and then a tag going across the plate to end the inning. Oh, and that throw from Elly De La Cruz was 99.8 miles per hour. That's the fastest tracked assist by an infielder in the StatCast era, breaking Elly De La Cruz's own record. In the bottom of the fourth, Jonathan India, back in the lineup today, had a leadoff double, and then Christian Encarnacion-Strand singled him home. That made it 3-0 Reds. Then Benson doubled home CES. That made it 4-0. Bottom of the fifth, Jake Fraley doubled. India singled him home. That made it 5-0. And all of that was more than enough on this day for Andrew Abbott. He was absolutely spectacular. 8 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. A really just incredible performance and a much-needed performance from Andrew Abbott. Wilmer Babe Ruth Flores hit a home run off of Derek Law in the ninth. but of course, not nearly enough. Your Cincinnati Reds beat the Giants 5-1. Looks like the Brewers are about to win. They are 1 out away. They're up 4-0. So the Reds will likely remain 2.5 back in the National League Central, but assuming the Brewers win, they would beat the Phillies, which means the Reds would just be 1.5 back in the wild card race. I think you muted yourself, Trace.
I did do that. I didn't want to get in your way. I didn't want to stop you from doing the excellent box score recap. The deep drive of the day is sponsored by Deep South Commodities, and who else? It's all right. It's Luke Maley, thebigbomb.com to left center field. And as a reminder, DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collections, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thank you to our friends at Deep South Commodities, and thank you to Luke Maley for doing something special today and giving us that deep, deep fly. Luke Maley, by the way, we finally, I think at this point, have got his name right. It took us a little while. Tyler Malley kept leaking itself in there on his last name for quite some time, at least for me. I know even for yourself, Nick. I don't know. It's an easy mistake to make, but I'm glad to see that we have finally come around the corner for Luke Maley. Where do we start? Well, I'll tell you where we start. We start with Andrew Abbott. What did I say the other day, Nick? I said, you know what you really need in a spot where you feel like you're in a rut and you need to get out of it? You need a frontline guy. You need a guy that when you look around the corner, you're like, you know what? We're going to win on Thursday because we got X throwing. And Andrew Abbott, outside of the one start in Milwaukee, has been that guy for the most part. I mean, he's thrown the ball about as well as you could have ever hoped for a rookie. And you're starting to, I guess, ask the question of all the things that we're begging for at the deadline, we were begging for starting pitching. Obviously, the Weaver situation still stands. But if Ashcraft continues to throw the ball, knock on wood here, I'm going to knock on wood. Ashcraft continues to throw the ball the way that he's thrown it. You'd like to think here at the quote-unquote deadline, Nick, you're going to get Green back. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not suggesting it's going to be exactly at the deadline, but our deadline additions, is it too optimistic for me to think that might be Green and Lodolo?
I think Lodolo is probably a little bit farther back. So, I mean, I think Green, obviously, I mean, that's is better pitcher than anyone probably on the market. I might even say he might be better than Dylan Cease. To be honest, I think he has higher upside, especially if you're talking a Hunter Green that could be a little bit more fresh down the stretch too, that hasn't had this wear and tear all season. I think he could be absolutely electric down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, Andrew Abbott, I mean, 2.10 ERA. I mean, this guy's just been incredible. Like I had said last night, he kind of came in struggling a little bit, giving up the long ball, but able to keep the ball in the park today against a Giants team that had hit a lot of home runs this week. So just a fantastic start for him. And yeah, I mean, he's looking like the absolute real deal right now. He did give up quite a few hard hit balls today, but Reds defense played pretty well behind him as well.
Well, when you throw strikes, the defense, and this isn't hyperbole, this is a real thing. You talk to any defenders in the field, they like guys that are in the zone, that are relatively quick, and the pitch clock has forced most guys to be relatively quick now. There's not really any human rain delays that are pitchers anymore, thankfully, and I think that the one thing that we said that was probably going to happen with the pitch clock has already happened, and it's just after the very first implementing season, right after the All-Star break, is you don't even really think about the pitch clock much anymore. I mean, yeah, it comes up from time to time, but it's not nothing that rears its ugly head a significant amount of the time, like many people probably were concerned. But my main point was when you play defense behind a guy that's throwing strikes that works relatively quick, it's just a lot easier. It's more fun. I think you make better plays in the field. I think you're a little more, for lack of a better term, you're more aware and you're ready to play. And I know that many probably would say, well, you should always be ready no matter what. Well, when you have to stand out in the field, Nick, for 15 minutes at times, and you're just watching guys walk guys after walk guys after walk guys, or it's 3-2 every count. It is tough to stay focused. Other than that, Andrew Abbott's been excellent. I don't know if we want to speak any more on him before we move into the offense.
Well, just as dominant as he was, as well as overall Graham Ashcraft pitched yesterday, the fact that both of those guys, Ashcraft gave you 6 innings, Abbott today. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know the Reds bullpen desperately needed some rest. They didn't put Luke Weaver on the IL to bring up an extra reliever. So it was almost like they put some faith into Ashcraft and Abbott to get the job done, and they delivered these last 2 days. Just huge. And you're coming into a series against the Diamondbacks, against a really, really good lineup that Arizona has, and Alexis Diaz and Lucas Sims didn't have to pitch today. And somebody, at least your back end guys, aren't maybe as exhausted as they could have been. So, that was really, really, really huge for this team. And during a really, really difficult stretch they got coming up here leading up to the trade deadline.
Yeah. These are the things when you do a podcast, and maybe I need to stop being so damn superstitious at times. And I think I'm going to continue to be superstitious. I'm not going to say a damn word. All right. So let's talk about the offense. I could bring up a point that I would like to make, but I'm not going to, because it's a point that I don't want to try to make right now. And then All in Christ, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Let's get it. All right. Offense, Nick, your overall, I guess, most impressive. I'll tell you who's impressive the most for me. Your boy. Willie Mays, also known now as Will Benson out there. I don't know what else there is to say about this dude, but he's found his groove. I hope to God he's just, I don't want to say half, but I hope to God he's just a sliver of the player he's been this past month for a while, for a long time.
Will Benson's got a 915 OPS. This was a guy that had a 050 batting average, the first 2 weeks he was up.
Is his on base at 400?
I don't know.
I'm gonna dig it up. You keep moving. I'll dig it up.
Statcast doesn't tell me that, just the average and the OPS. Have to do another couple clicks, but
this dude's on base percentage is at 389.
I mean, he's incredible. It's not. He has probably the best at bats on the team. Is that fair? I mean.
You know what he's done that's different than when he first came up, and I think it's just strictly pressure. I think it's strictly pressure. It's all mental. Is that he is laying off pitches at a much, much higher clip than he did when he first came up. When he first came up, he looked like he was a free swinger. It looked like he would I don't want to say damn near swing at any slider in the dirt, but he lays off. And again, there's probably analytical data to back this up. But he lays off so many pitches that are sliders that start in the zone, that break out of the zone, that are in the dirt and or low. I don't say more than anybody I've seen, but that's, I don't say the only difference I've seen, but that is a major difference I've seen since he came up the very first time.
I mean, his walk rate since he's come back is over 15%. I mean, that's a elite level. I don't know what the major league high is. That would be 5th best in baseball if he qualified over that stretch. I mean, that's like the elite of the elite. And he's having this incredible walk rate. He's also still ripping doubles and ripping some home runs. And when he does make contact, it's great contact. It's not, it's not weak contact. So the combination of the plate discipline and his ability to really drive the ball, and I think he's a good defender that I think is going to continue to get better. Feels like he's got more tools defensively. Like, I don't think he's a bad defender right now, but I think he has even more room to grow there defensively. Kind of like almost like an Adam Duvall type. When he first came up in left field, like he was okay, but the more reps he got, he became a really, really good defensive outfielder. Different type players for sure, but I think I could see that kind of growth with him. I kind of start wondering, is Will Benson, like, Will Benson started out as this guy, okay, I really like him. I like his upside. I think he'd be a solid player. I'm not like, okay, is Will Benson got the potential to be a star? Because I'm like, I don't know how this guy's ceiling is. It feels like day after day after day, I continue to raise my expectations of just how good he can be.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you don't want to get too high, you don't want to get too low on guys. I've seen some people in the chat. Are we starting to get concerned about Spencer Steer? I'm not there yet. I'm really not. I mean, let's let this guy have a little bit of a slump. Most great players in this game, most of them have a 2 or 3 week window, or maybe even a month window where they struggle. Spencer Steer has earned enough equity in my fandom that he can play pretty poorly for a long time, and I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was maybe the team. You could make a strong case that he was the team's MVP the very first half of the season, and that includes a lot of great players and a lot of great play. McLean, Ellie, that includes them all. By the way, I don't want to jump subject too much here, but Luke Maley, which isn't the same subject, offense, but Luke Maley's in a spot now where you play that well, do you earn yourself another opportunity relatively quickly? It kind of feels like that. I mean, for the deep fly, by the way, 105.5 off the bat, 423 feet, so it wasn't a cheapie. A guy that today, I think, what did he have? He had 3 hits. He was 3 for 4. Do you play him again? Do you just say, you know what, let's ride the hot streak? Or do you just say, okay, he's just going to be a spot starter and you just keep him there? Because I'll tell you what, man, it seems as if every time he gets an opportunity, he's taking advantage of it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, he actually come in scuffling pretty bad coming in. I don't think it felt as bad because he hasn't been playing all that much. It's been very sporadic. So I think when you don't see a guy play every day, maybe some of the struggles from his actual game logs maybe don't feel as bad. But I think he's an absolutely solid backup catcher. I don't think there's any debate about that. I mean, I think he for sure fits that role very well. I think he's a backup catcher than probably a lot of backup catchers that the Reds have had in recent memory. I don't think I'm running him back out there tomorrow. We'll talk about tomorrow's start. Reds are facing a lefty. I think I'd want to give Tyler Stevenson a crack against a lefty. A lefty that's not necessarily a dominant starting pitcher. I think Tyler Stevenson could have some success against. And Tyler Stevenson put a couple good swings on the last couple days. I think you want to try to really get him rolling. But I'm confident in Luke Maley. If the Reds decided to entertain offers for Tyler Stevenson, which obviously you're having to get a great return back. But if you want to entertain selling potentially high if there's someone that offered, I don't think I necessarily would say I couldn't ride with Luke Maley the rest of the year. But again, I'd have to have an incredible package back for me to even think about doing something like that.
Yeah. Well, even more importantly, I do feel like there's a little bit of depth there. And I know people make fun of the three catcher thing, but if somebody were to get banged up and something were to happen, I feel pretty confident in Luke Maley. To put that in perspective, I know that Maley had a pretty big day today. His OPS is 707, and Tyler Stevenson, for a guy that we've thought has struggled for most of this year, he's a 698 OPS. So, it's not like there's a huge difference there in regards to the difference between one catcher to the next. Anything before you get into this Bally announcement?
I
mean, India.
Really,
it's nice to see India play well. Can I say that?
Yeah. 2 hits.
Yeah.
Big hits, too.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over the fact when India plays well. I'm not trying to be an India no matter what he does, I can't stand him. That's not really it. I just I get frustrated with the India, and I don't want to say crowd. That's probably the wrong term. I get frustrated with the fact that everyone always attributes to the leadership and all these things that go on in the clubhouse to India, and then it's like, I don't know. I don't really know if that's India's problem or maybe my problem with fans. I think that's probably more the latter than the two. So, and the $180 batting average for the past month, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, no, India had a good game. TJ Friedel didn't really have a lot to show for, just 1 hit, but he had 3 hard hit balls today. CES, 2 hard hit balls. Continues to look very comfortable in the plate. Kind of stepped right in. But yeah, adding a little more context to the catcher, league average catcher OPS is 686 this year. So Luke Maley's an above average hitting catcher this year, and Tyler Stevenson's been about average. So there's probably not a whole lot of teams that have 2 catchers that fit that bill. So like you're saying a little bit about depth, yeah, the Reds actually kind of do have that. Might not feel like it as much at times, but I think if you take a step back and you look at every other team's catching situation,
Right.
Reds actually looks pretty good.
Are you concerned that if Newman gets some Pepto-Bismol or whatever he needs to get to figure out his real difficult situation that I'm sure he has going on, that this team's got they got to figure something out? I don't know what it is, but they got.
Again, I wonder if they're wanting to keep their options open at the trade deadline. I mean, we are 11 days away from the trade deadline. I don't know. I don't know what market any of the three Reds catchers have. I don't know what the market would be for Tyler Stevenson if you decided, hey, because Tyler Stevenson might be actually one of the pieces. There's not a whole lot of big league talent pieces that you could move for a starting pitcher. A catcher, maybe you actually could. Now, I'm just throwing this out as a complete hypothetical. You have to really dive into exactly what you'd be offered. There could be some option there. Luke Maile, you could say, hey, he might be able to bring us back like a solid reliever for another team, and we would ride with Stevenson and Casale. I think you could do that. Or maybe even Casale has some sort of value just because, I mean, you have to remember back to last year when Tyler Stevenson got hurt, and the Reds just like had to keep recycling through catcher after catcher. And minor league catchers, when you're just bringing anyone up, you saw last year, man, it could really look rough behind the plate. So I think there's a chance the Reds want to just kind of see what their options are. They've rode it out this long. What's another 11 days? But yeah, I think probably we'll get to the point where you say, all right, let's get that extra bat up in the lineup, whether it's Newman, whether it's Fairchild. Even though it's not going to be a whole lot, maybe you go that route.
If you believe in Chucky Robinson, then they're more apt to knowing more about this than I do because they see these guys on a daily basis and they probably have a much better, obviously, idea of what kind of player they actually have. So no matter what Nick Krall does for the most part, I'm probably going to I don't want to say generally agree, or I'll generally accept because he's bought himself a leash for that. The only thing that I want to bring up really quickly is that I'm half tempted not to trade to Stevenson and India, quite frankly, this year, largely because if you are trying to make a run for the postseason, I don't think you're going to get the way that India's played, and you could even say the same about Stevenson for the most part, is I don't think you're going to get max return regardless. So I still think Jose Barrero, and I know people might laugh at me when I say this, I think he should have a little bit of pull. I'm not suggesting he's going to get us a big league talented arm or something like that, or a big league arm, period. But I don't want people to forget, Jose Barrero still has an opportunity to have a big league career. I know the Reds, it's probably slim to none. I get that. But Nick Krall has options. We'll see what he does with them. It'll be interesting. He might sit on his hands. He might not. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me either way. Talk about sitting on your hands. Bally Sports, brother. We thought that they might be kaput 2 weeks into this season, and sure enough, they're hanging around. They're like mosquito right now.
Somehow they want that Reds contract. Reds must have really got a crappy contract, is what I'm starting to think. Because, well, no, I mean, the reason the Diamondbacks didn't.
I know what you're saying.
Because it was a lot of money, and there's this unknown about the Reds contract. A lot of people tried to dig into it. No, there's no real concrete data on how it is. Started to wonder, did the Reds get one of the worst TV contracts out there? And that's why Bally continues to pay the Reds because, hey, this is a pretty entertaining team to watch. Cincinnati really, for the market, has always supported the Reds well in terms of TV numbers. Right. And so I'm starting to think, yeah, Bally must have a hell of a deal here. And that's why they're choosing to pay the Reds and not paying other teams.
I think that if the Reds were abysmal, they would have balked at this deal. They would have gone bankrupt. They would have passed it along. The fact that this team has played well has rejuvenated this fan base. We've seen it with our show. We've seen it with other shows. Listen, let's be honest with ourselves here. The Reds have no business, or should have no business, having 3 podcasts in the top 10 charts. And that's what they had. So I have no doubt that the Reds, I don't want to say fan base, is probably holding up their end of the bargain for this Bally deal. So Casey said, I love that.
that even
I
mean?
love that. A super chat from Casey says, hey, I figured out a solution for the stream. We've got it to the Yamaha. We got it from Yamaha to VMix now. I'm getting lunch. I love you, Casey McAllister, today. I love you, brother, man. We were trying to fix this damn problem in the office. I was working on it. I was watching the Reds. I was working on it, watching the Reds. Me and Casey were pulling our hair out at times. We're trying to figure out technology. And the fact that my man drops a super chat in there to give me great news is fantastic. So, Casey, I'm going to get lunch, which I know it's late, but I'm going to get lunch after this, head back in, and we will confirm that you got it. And I love the fact that I just got great news. That put me in a hell of a mood right there. I don't want to say that put me in a better mood than the Reds winning, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's pretty close.
The Inside Baseball Super Chat.
Yeah, well, that's just called technology trying to figure it out, and sometimes it's frustrating. All right. Bring back Fox Sports, says Sir Boy Wonder. Not to get into the TV stuff. Sometimes we really do a good job of staying on topic on this show. We don't really get outside of the Reds a whole lot. Nick, I want to point something out. The Fox national broadcasts, and I know that's not Fox Sports in regards to Fox Sports Ohio. That's not always the same thing, but I want to give Fox some kudos here. When I used to watch NFL football, my least favorite graphic packages, my least favorite, what I would call like the actual quality of the picture on the screen, my least favorite was Fox. And Fox baseball was relatively the same for a little while. My main point now is I think Fox might be the best quality of picture of all of the national brands that cover baseball. And I know Fox is one. I don't say they're the only one. But for the most part, I do want to give Fox their due. Now, some of that just might be technological advances, but you know what? I like to call it out when I see it.
TBS is really good. Their actual broadcasts when they do the playoffs, they don't do a whole during the season. Now their pre and post game shows are absolute garbage, but their actual broadcasts are solid. But yeah, I mean, eventually the Reds are going to get on the MLB. It looks like what the D-backs and Padres doing, that's going to be the future. There's no sense. Why would you outsource broadcasting the games when MLB can just do it themselves, make their own money, get rid of the blackouts, which is what everyone wants.
Yes.
Give people the option of both. They're just trying to weed out Bally at this point. So it's just a matter of time. Bally's going to try to hang on as long as they can, but eventually the Reds will be doing the same thing the Diamondbacks are doing. A lot more people will be happy. A lot more people will be able to watch the Reds. And it'll be a good thing all around.
You know what I would love to do? Everyone always brings up, oh, Chatterbox, you should stream the games. You should do this. Like, that's unrealistic, okay? Like, that's unrealistic. It's ridiculous to even have a general thought. And I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big believer. But you know one thing, and again, maybe I'm putting this out there in the universe and I won't get any credit for it. Or not credit for it. What's the right word to use here? Maybe someone else will decide to do it and they'll make money off of it, and I'm the one that just shouldn't have said out loud what the idea is. For a lot of fans that like behind-the-scenes stuff, and for a lot of fans that want to see, they want to be privy to other things outside of it, I, for the life of me, can't understand why. And again, maybe I'll try to get in and figure out a way to meet with the Reds and talk about this. I don't know why they don't create their own platform. Maybe the games can't go to it, but they should be able to show, and maybe they'll have to negotiate this, but they should be able to show batting practice. They should be able to show like almost like a Hard Knocks type thing, like documentary type stuff about your team. And you got to have an internal team that does that. It can't be like some third-party company that doesn't even give you the final cut rights. So you can't have like crazy stuff going on in the clubhouse and the Reds don't want it out, that type of stuff. But in general, it should be like the Reds control that. And not that they're trying to run some state media or something, but for the most part, make sure it's a high-level production, put it out, and I'll be honest, I think you could put it behind a paywall. I think you could. I think you could say, hey, for $15 a month, you get access to the lineups 10 minutes before the public. You get access to this. There's ways to make money off of media, and nobody's doing it. I'm just saying, should be done. Someone should do it. They could make money doing that.
How about a YouTube afternoon stream of batting practice, and maybe you overlay like Mo Egger's radio show over it. You can watch batting practice in the background on YouTube. They can get the ads in between and whatever, and Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think people would love that.
Could you imagine batting practice with just like StatCast data that looks like the home run derby, and it could be automated cameras. Like this stuff is possible to be done. It's just not done because no one's either had the idea or the execution of it. All right, that's here nor there. You say you hate it. Nick Kirby hates something? Nick Kirby don't hate nothing, man. I've been around you enough to know you don't hate a damn thing.
Bad umpiring. I hate bad umpiring. and my God, it has been brutal of late. I don't know. And I tweeted this out earlier. Like, I don't know if it's just like because these games like mean a lot, but man, it just feels like every inning there's just some pitches that are just atrocious. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's ever been this bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think part of it is this, though. I got to give the umpires a little bit of credit. They were much worse back in the day. I think they've gotten a lot better. The thing that's surpassed them at this point, and the thing that's gotten, a little above and beyond ridiculous, is the accuracy of technology and the ability to show us in real time what pitches are and where they're at. If you took that little strike zone away, and you took it away completely, and you took the little dot circle that hits the strike zone when the pitch crosses the plate, you took that away completely, I think, and I could be wrong, I think most of our griping would go away. If you weren't able to go onto the Gamecast and look and see that a pitch missed outside by about 3, call it 2 or 3 inches, you really wouldn't be screaming and yelling. And that's the difference now. And that is a bold, easy argument for why you should have robo umpires, is because if you have the technology, which you didn't back then, if you have the technology to be able to precisely say this is exactly where it is, then it's really hard to make the case that you shouldn't just use that. And I think that's where this game's headed. I said the other day that Tyler Stevenson is terrible at framing, but I don't know how much longer it matters. If it's and it's a fair argument to say it shouldn't matter, right? It's a fair argument to say, why should a skill set of a catcher be framing? Isn't it the umpire's job just to call the pitch for what it is? And hey, the answer is yes, it is. That's their job. They're supposed to call it for how it is. However, they're human. They stand back there. They can be influenced like anybody. So the only thing that I would like to see happen, Nick, I would like for a hitter, okay? And this is where maybe I'm making it too complicated. I would like for a hitter to be able to challenge one pitch and at bat. If they get it right, they get to challenge another pitch. And if they get it wrong, they get an additional strike. So if it's on strike 3, then it's kind of a freebie if they've not used up their challenge, if that makes sense. Is that wild? Am I adding too much with the extra strike? I just don't want guys challenging something that's right, that's on the corner. Maybe the team gets so many challenges. I don't know how we do that, but I've seen it. Is it in the minor leagues where they can tap their helmet really quickly and they get to challenge it, and then they immediately tell them if it was a ball or strike?
Yeah, in AAA, they're like splitting their series. So the first 3 games, it's 100% called using the automated system. The other 3 games are the challenge system. I personally, if you're going to do it, just do it. Why half do it? Like, okay. I don't.
That's fair.
I don't either do it or don't. I know I see a lot of people saying get rid of the box. That's not going away. Like that's not a futuristic. Like that's not going to grow the game. I think the younger generation is going to want to see stuff like that. So that's not going away. The one thing I would add is I also think that by calling balls and strikes automatically, you could get more offense in the game, because some of these catchers that teams use, like a guy like Austin Hedges, who keeps getting a job as an absolutely abysmal hitter. He's like a pitcher.
Why don't you just bring up Kurt Casale? Why do you got to bring up him?
Well, I think Kurt Casale's actually had some success in his major league career hitting. He's had some good season. A guy like Austin Hedges has never, but he's an elite framer, and because of that, he keeps getting to play. And it's we wanted to get rid of the pitchers hitting because we wanted more offense in the game. Sure. Well, you could also, by getting rid of framing, teams aren't going to have awful hitters in their lineup because they're great at framing. You're going to see more Tyler Stevensons and more offensive catchers in the lineup, which would also be, I think, a good thing for the sport as well, having more hitters. So,
You bring up something good point about more offense in the game. I have a quick question for you. You may know this answer, and it looked as if, I don't keep up with this as much as maybe I should, but it looked as if there are lines that are being chalked out on infields now. Maybe it's at a certain level, maybe it's all minor league baseball. I don't believe it is, but to where they're trying to ban the shift slightly a little bit more from middle infielders being able to stand directly in the middle of the diamond. And there's nothing, I mean, you've probably listened to me enough to know there's nothing that irritates me more than just a laser line drive right up the middle, and it's an out. And it's because the second baseman or shortstop are still doing the shift. They're just a half of an inch to the left or right of second base, which allows it to be legal. I would really like for a line drive right up the middle that the pitcher obviously doesn't catch to be a hit almost 99% of the time. I mean, that is just, I don't want to say a staple of baseball, but it should be, at least. Maybe I'm this old man. Maybe it's the old man yells at cloud syndrome coming out for me. But I love offense in general. I think that's what grows the game. I think that's what will grow the game. That's the most fun thing to see when you go to the ballpark is offense. Am I suggesting that I don't enjoy a good pitcher's duel every so often? No. Am I suggesting that I don't think that you could bring the kids and watch a 2-0 game and them actually enjoy it? Maybe you could. But I'm telling you, the game that we're going to talk about at the end of this year is what, Nick? What game is it? What game are we going to talk about at the end of this year as being the most exciting game that we had all year long unless something else crazy happens? I put you on the spot, but if you don't know, I'll tell you.
The Reds-Braves 11-10.
11-10. And it was just because it was back and forth. Offense is exciting. No matter how you try to split it up, it is absolutely exciting. And I would like for there to be more offense as much as we can get in it without being ridiculous. But I don't want to say analytics ruins it, because ultimately you need to use analytics to try to put your team in the best foot forward to try to win a baseball game. But let's try to make the rules to where nobody can do something that, I don't want to say for the better of the game, could actually happen. Like a line drive should be a base hit up the middle. But anyways,
the Florida State League, that's where the Daytona Tortugas playing. They are using, and I'm not going to explain it great to you, so I'm not going to try. Sure. You can Google it. It's called the pie slice rule. They're using that again, experimenting, which keeps the middle infielders from bunching up the middle. The move is designed to open the area of the infield to more base hits. So they're experimenting with that. Google that. There's a really good explanation of exactly what that rule is. And I don't have a problem with Major League Baseball starting slow. I think this was a great start this year.
I agree.
And I don't have a problem with them saying, hey, let's get a couple more years of data in the minor leagues to make sure, because you don't want to make a rule change and then you have to go back, because that would be
I agree
bad for the sport. But yeah, I would love to see more restrictions on it once you have a better understanding, because you don't want to see line drives of the middle that are outs. No one wants that.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what else it would do too? I think as much as I promote offense, I think it could help make the defensive side of it the range of your defenders more important as well. Ellie De La Cruz is probably going to get to more balls up the middle than some average shortstop, and you should have an advantage from that. And I know that you could say, well, Ellie can range over to the left farther than an average shortstop, so there's your advantage. Well, analytics and statistics are telling you that the ball's going to probably not get hit there, so you don't get a chance to even see if they can and can't. For those that are listening on a podcast, I'll make this very clear in how it looks. Think of second base. Obviously, it's a square. They basically chalk it right from the second base corners, from the first base corner and the third base corner, like at that exact angle from the base, and they just go straight to the outfield lip. So that, and you can't stand inside of that little, like you said, it looks like a pizza slice kind of. Look it up, obviously, if you're really interested. But I like that. I like that idea, and we'll see. Major League Baseball, I'm telling you, is getting more and more fan interest, in my opinion. Maybe it's just because I'm in Cincinnati and I can see people that are latching onto the Reds because they're actually playing fun baseball this year. But I think in general, baseball is starting to kind of make a comeback, right? It's like they always say, everything comes around, goes around. I think that Major League Baseball Again, do I think they're going to overtake the NFL, Nick? Probably not. But I think that they can do a hell of a lot better than they have in the past of making their game a little more of a national broadcast or a national, what would it be, an entertainment option for people.
Yeah, for sure. I've had so many people this year that haven't watched baseball in a long time that talk about the Reds and say they're watching every night again. So, yeah. That is great to see.
Yep. Well, I before I don't say I go, I know we got the who, what, when, where, and why next. But I am going to do my best. For those that don't know, I have an event that I'm going to run. And be honest with you, if you're in the Cincinnati area, I know I say no free ads all the time. Not trying to run an ad here for them, but I have to go work something called the Ohio Challenge. Nick, it is actually a really cool event. If you're in Cincinnati area, there's free fireworks. They actually have skydivers that jump, and they have hot air balloons that kids can kind of interact with and see. It's a really neat event, if I'm being completely honest. And hell, they do one skydiving. This is really wild. They skydive down, and the skydivers actually have fireworks attached to their legs, and they shoot fireworks while they're flying down, it's a wild scene. But nonetheless, I think that's at Smith Park in Middletown, Ohio. It's on Friday night and Saturday night. I am going to be there. I'm going to do my best to get on stream. If I'm not, I know that you have some help on your way. I promise. Shay will be on both nights. Shay is going to be on both nights. So I would like to think here at some point, Nick, we will be back in rhythm and we'll be in here every single night. But unfortunately, during the summer weekends, there are certain times where I have to work, and that's just part of it. So anything else to add before we get into the who, what, when, where, and why?
What did you want to get into it all? The India story? That was what the I Hate It was for. Oh,
I thought you hated umpires. I tweeted it. Listen, I don't know the guy. I'm not trying. Listen, if I met the guy, and you could probably tell me what the guy's name was.
Gordon Whitmire.
So Gordon Whitmire is the new beat writer for the Enquirer. I think he's the one that took over for Bobby Nightingale. And hey, I'm not trying to tell the guy how to do his job, and I'm not suggesting that he's not a good writer. I've not seen the guy. I don't know nothing about him. So I'm prefacing all that by saying that I hate the way that he went about putting out the story. For those that didn't see it, he tweeted out an article to where he did an article on Jonathan India's playing time coupled with CES getting brought up. He framed it as CES is getting brought up, and it takes away Jonathan India's playing time. And then he used the quote, "I hate it," from Jonathan India, and Jonathan India had nothing to do with CES coming up in regards to hating it, and it had nothing to do with him even saying that he doesn't believe that he wants to have the best for the team. And again, I'm paraphrasing here, but the truth is that it was a very clickbaity tweet, and I think it was intended to be a clickbaity tweet, and I get the business side of it. I'm not naive to it, Nick, but I still think, we could go down this. I could go on a complete rant right now about media in general. Listen, I get you have to pay bills, Nick. I do. But at some point, I personally, and I know I'm not better than anybody. I'm not saying that, but I do have some morals. If my job, and I'm telling you this straight up, if my job ever got to where I felt like I have to if I had to tell an untold, basically a white lie, if I have to kind of squirt around the edge to make something appear as one way and then do another because that's what we have to do in our business and all that, straight up, I'll just quit. I'll quit. I know it's easy for me to say that, and I don't know what food he has to put on the table, et cetera, but you can go about your business and not be clickbait, in my opinion, in the media in itself. Okay, you don't have to try to spin narratives that aren't true just to get something to drive clicks, that drive advertising. That's the sole purpose and the problem with journalism in general right now. I'm not trying to get on a tangent, but in general, journalism was created to try to hold people accountable and tell the truth. And all it's turned into, and I don't say all, but what most of it's turned into now is sensationalism and seeing how many people you can get to click on a story, because that story then leads to clicks. The clicks then drives ad revenue. Ad revenue then obviously drives into bottom line, and bottom line then ultimately pays the bills and everybody's happy. The problem is if you keep doing this over and over and over again, Nick, you are basically cutting your legs out from underneath you, because at some point people aren't even going to take what you're doing serious. So I know that's a long-winded way of saying I cannot stand the way that he put that clickbait article, but journalism, that is a demeaning way to go about your business as a journalist, in my opinion. And maybe, am I overreacting? Tell me if I am.
No, I mean, the story was actually really good, really well written.
It wasn't bad.
It gave you some really good insight into, Christian Encarncaion-Strand coming up and some of the challenges that it creates for David Bell. It was a great story. It was just the way it was presented. I didn't like that. Jonathan Indy saying I hate it was pretty clearly from the story more about he just hates not playing every day because he takes pride in playing every day,
right,
in being available, in playing hurt, all those kind of things that you want out of a baseball player. So, yeah, I know that had a lot of traction in social media and whatnot, which was intended to do.
Yeah, it did its job,
but we should have at least brought it up because a lot of people weren't interested in it.
That's the thing that sucks about it, is that it does work. It does work. It's worked on our platform. It's worked on our platform. Maybe not for this show, but we put out some stupid clickbait article headline on a video, and it gets way more traction than if we would have just put out like an actual, low-level, realistic take. And I'll tell you right now, I promise you, you can clip this. And if I have to do that, I'll quit. I'll be done. I'll just tell whoever it is. I'm not in that business. I don't want to do that. We do this show. We try not to be. My takes are genuine. There's no sensationalism here. Period. Your takes are obviously incredibly based, and you don't really go one way or the other too much. But I just don't know why we have to live in a society where this is like an okay thing to do. If I was Jonathan Indy the next time I seen him, and again, this is why it kind of sucks that we have the rules and laws that we always do. If we could just go in there and I'm not suggesting that you use what would be the term here, aggression or violence, I think is the term I'm using. I'm not suggesting violence is the answer, but if there was a slight chance that, what's that guy's name?
Gordon Whitmire.
There's a slight chance that if Gordon Whitmire walked in the locker room with Jonathan India and Jonathan India punched him straight in his face, then, and again, I'm not suggesting that he should do that, but there's no reason that he should have tweeted something like that and not gotten any flack for it at all. None. I'm sure Jonathan India is happy as hell to see what he wrote too. I'd love to see that interaction, and I'm sticking up for Jonathan India. So that shows you how ridiculous I think it is.
Well, I mean, it's probably just more along the lines of good luck getting, good content out of India after that, like that's,
Yeah. Well, I feel bad for Jonathan India. I all he was trying to say was that he loves playing the game of baseball and he wants to be out there every single day, and he hates that. He hates not playing. That's not even a story, Like, okay, I'm glad to see that he hates not playing baseball. That's a good thing. Now, whether or not, and the last thing I want to say, Nick, before we get on a side tangent, I've talked way too long. The last thing I want to say is, for those that are like, well, Jonathan India should have just said, he's happy the team's doing well and he's looking forward to the next game. Then what the hell is the point of having beat writers? What's the hell of the point of having even writers in general? I'd like for my players to be honest and vulnerable and open and just tell the truth. Because if they don't do that, then you're never going to get a real story anyways. So then when you go out and you do this stuff, kids show, it makes more players not want to talk to the media, which makes all of it worse. So thanks for that, Gordon. Appreciate it. Thanks for starting my day off great. And shout out to Ricky Fowler for putting up an 8, a snowman on the 18th hole when he was 2 under. But that's beside the point. Reds MLB.
All right, no Reds MLB yet today, but some good stuff to watch tonight. Louisville bats at 6:35. They'll be going up against Zach Plesac, who got demoted from the Cleveland Guardians, but has had a lot of success in the major league. So interested to see what guys like Barrero and Fairchild and Marty do tonight. And then the Dayton Dragons, they're in action. 7:05. Jose Acuna 6-0, 2.44 ERA this season, is scheduled to start tonight for the Dragons. And tomorrow, Reds start a 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, team that is actually right in the thick of the wild card race along with the Reds. So another important series for the Reds. It will be the lefty Tommy Henry going for the D-backs. He started the year at AAA for the D-backs. Got called up late in April. Has struggled at times, especially giving up home runs. Doesn't really strike out a lot of guys. But he doesn't throw hard either. Only averages 91 miles per hour. But he doesn't give up a lot of hard hit contact. And then he's actually pitched really well of late. 2.20 ERA over his last 5 starts. And then Ben Lively, he's been outstanding since coming back off the IL. A 1.86 ERA in his 2 starts back. Of course, unfortunately had his last start cut short due to cramping. So hopefully Lively is lively and ready to go tomorrow night at Great American Ballpark.
Hopefully we can get some IVs in him. We can make sure he's good to go. Hopefully
What's the weather tomorrow? Is it cold?
Nope. I think it's nice and it's a nice and 82-degree day. So he should be good to go. I hope so. In fact, we might have to maybe start building a dome for these guys. Go ahead and get that puppy ready. I see you getting it ready. All right. It's nice to see the Reds bounce back, man. I tell you what, it could have gotten out of control. And you know, it's wild to think about. If we don't beat ourselves, and that's what we did. We don't beat ourselves. We take 3 or 4 in the series. One could argue we were in line, and we probably could have. And this is where the shoulda, coulda, woulda. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, everyone would have a jolly good time. Take that one, write that down. But we should have taken 3 or 4 in this series. One maybe say we could have swept it. So for us to sit here, I guess for some of us that were panicking, thinking, you know, okay, was this team just a fluke? Was this team not as good as we thought they were? Okay, let's all relax, take a deep breath like Nick told us to, and let's see what happens. Let's give it a couple more weeks, see where we're at. Let's see what you got.
I mean, this is a good Giants team. The Giants team came in 20-9 in their last 29 games. They were on a 5-game win streak coming in. So this is a really good team they faced. Kept it moving, got a split. Now you got another tough series, then another really tough series after that, and then another tough series after that, and then you're at the trade deadline, and we'll see where we're at there. Ready?
Yeah. Nice. Hopefully Gordon can give us an update on Kevin Newman, too. I'm really worried about him. Dude, Nick's looking better than ever. You ever think Nick will see that?
I don't know. What the hell?
Yeah, what a wild thing to do. Could you imagine living your life and then getting on YouTube and seeing that your face was on a pillow and it's getting revealed every night? That would be a wild thing to see. Can't say it wouldn't.
Does Nick Cage even know who the Cincinnati Reds are?
Maybe not, but I'm sure he knows what YouTube is. And maybe if, who knows? Maybe we should start putting Cage in the description and it'll pop up for him. Maybe he starts YouTubing his name.
There we go. There's our hot take. There's our clickbait.
That's our clickbait.
Put Nick Cage in the tags.
All right, chat. Much love to you. If I don't see you tomorrow, Nick will see you. That's for sure. If I don't see you on Saturday, I promise I'll be back Sunday better than ever. Nick, you look good, dude. You look good. You know what time it is, chat. Ball's pumped up. It was looking good yesterday. Not to brag, but yesterday was a pretty phenomenal dunk. I'll see if I can't replicate it. Kids are upstairs. Hopefully they're watching this show. If they are, be ready because the house might fall down. Shout out Wonder Boy. I sucked. See you tomorrow.